right, hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House. Today, guys, curveball. Mostly, I have comics on, but today I have one of my best friends, very talented and handsome musician, and he's also very funny, so we'll get there as well. Today, I have the former host of the Sunday open mic at Maggie O'Neill's and the current Sunday Barnaby's All-Star on the deck, Mike Maguire.
Hey, what's up, Pat? Thank you for having me, man. This is great.
Dude, thank you for being on here, man. I do have mostly comics on because, obviously, I'm a comic.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But I love, but I've been meaning to talk to more like musicians, authors, and other creative people, man. You're funny on stage. You post funny things online. So it's all under the umbrella of humor. But we're going to talk music and comedy today. And that's 90% of our conversations anyways.
I'm also hosting a new podcast called Hoagie Time.
I was going to say that for the end, but okay. Yes, we can mention Hoagie Time now. I was a guest on it 2 weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. Great name. Honestly, great name. There's nothing more Philadelphia or Delco-centric than a podcast called Hoagie Time.
A non-food-centered podcast called Hoagie Time, where there's sandwiches on the table that barely get acknowledged.
I was staring at it the whole entire time. I don't know if they were like props or fake, like kids' toys or...
No, they're real. Mike usually saves them for lunch, though. Sammy O dove into his a week later.
So, Mike, I'm happy to have you here. I got to see you perform last week in Westchester. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. That was a really cool spot.
I love Westchester. I went to school in Westchester. I hadn't played there in a long time. I'm friends with the Barnaby's family, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I normally play in Havertown in Delco, but I got the opportunity a few months ago to start to add some Westchester dates to my schedule, and it's been a blast. Love playing there, and what a great surprise for you rolling through, man. That was hilarious.
I was really excited about that. I have actually done stand-up at the Barnaby's in Aston.
Oh,
I did a
revered comedy venue.
Upstairs. Absolutely. So between us, I think we covered all the Barnaby's. You used to play Ridley too, right? So
yeah.
That covers all of them.
Yeah, and as a musician, there's nothing better than hearing from somebody. Oh wow, this roofer held up my CD. I was selling them back in the day, and he picks it up and he goes, "Oh whoa, man, this is you." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We love it, man." And I thought it was like a compliment on my music. He goes, "We do coke off of this all the time." I was like, "Thank you, roofer. Excellent. I'll take it."
A friend of mine sent me a picture of my first CD that was holding up a wobbly table. I'm like, "Thank you." Yes. And it wasn't even like the CD case itself. The table was just off by enough where the CD itself needed to be under the leg of the table.
How receptive do you have and perceptive do you have to be to realize that this table's off by a CD thickness, which is width. Nothing? I love it, man.
Dude, we have a lot of great memories over the years. Some of my favorite things were, one, the Sunday open mic we used to have at Maggie O'Neill's, where all the musicians would just play together, and that's when I was playing drums all the time then. That was a lot of fun. But late nights on Tuesdays at Barnaby's in Havertown was my favorite, because Tuesdays were my favorite night of the week, because I would do the Helium open mic, and then I would run out of there to go jam with you and hang out. And what a cool thing for a Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's a random night of the week. The work week's still just beginning. But I remember so many times being at Helium and being excited to get out of there and then play music with you. Because you're the only person I've really jammed with often.
Yeah. And it's always a pleasure. We haven't done that since COVID. I mean, Tuesdays were a staple. They haven't brought it back since COVID. And I've thrown the hint out there. I'm ready when you guys are. And maybe they will. But all my musician friends would say, you have a vertical, on a calendar wise, you have an every week Tuesday night gig. It's almost unheard of, especially a year round type thing.
Dude.
Shout out Barnaby's Havertown.
Shout out Barnaby's Havertown. So, you and I have been friends for a long time, but I don't really know if I know the whole entire story. I usually love to talk to comics and figure out what got them into it. So talk about your musical interest as a kid.
Sure.
What were the first bands you were into? What was your first exposure to? Bands or...
Great. I mean, we've had so many cool conversations, Pat. One of my best friends, pal. I remember one of my earliest music memories is I grew up in Collingdale, Pennsylvania. Shout out Collingdale. And I remember the older kids on my block, the tough kids at the time were the headbangers. Like being like a rap type guy wasn't a thing back then. So the tough guys were always the headbangers. And I remember sitting on the sewer. This is super Delco. Sitting on the sewer in between games of stickball. And one of the kids rapped the lyrics to Paul Revere by Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys,
and I couldn't believe that this kid could remember all of these words. So I kind of I was so blown away by it that I remember that my mom took my brother and I to the Sears on 69th Street. So my quote unquote brother could buy me a gift. But, I picked something out. My mom paid for it. And it was the Beastie Boys License to Ill cassette that I learned all the lyrics from there. Yeah, I remember that was my first kind of inkling of music does something to me. Like it makes me feel something. My uncle John Rhodes, who I don't see that often anymore, but he was an unbelievable musician, harmonica player, guitar player, like super self-taught, but like incredible ear, and he could just do anything. And I remember being mesmerized by the way he would play when we'd go over to their house. And I would always chill in his music room, even if I didn't know what I was doing. I just remember feeling like I just felt an electricity being around music like that as a young boy. I wasn't exposed to music as a chance to learn how to play. When I was young, that didn't come until later. But I remember even as a young boy, like really, I remember my dad would have his buddies over to drink, like in the late 80s when I was a young boy. And Oldies 98 in Philadelphia actually played Motown back then. Now
they
Oldies,
did.
quote
I think
unquote.
About this. Dude,
yeah, dude, now you'll hear Ace of
Base
Base.
Green Day now.
Yeah. Come on. It was strictly Motown, and the guys hanging out would get a kick out of, hey, Michael, come on down here. Who sings this? What's the name of this song? And I just had a musical brain like that where I'd remember things quickly. And I just remember taking to music. Music made me feel something at a young age. And I didn't start playing until later. But those are my first musical memories.
That's awesome. So it started with the Beastie Boys and kind of Motown, essentially?
Yes.
Or... That's awesome. I love Motown, man. I love rock through and through, but I really love Motown and the girl groups of the 1960s. What an underrated, they don't get enough. I mean, the Supremes obviously are fantastic, but there were so many other great bands at that time. Those girl groups are fucking phenomenal.
That Phil Spector Christmas album is unreal. My God. What's the group that sings Be My Baby? The Ronettes, right? The Ronettes.
I believe that's them.
So good.
But so there's the Shirelles, the Shangri-Las. The Shangri-Las had their big hit was Leader of the Pack. And
yes.
Fucking, you know who's playing piano on that?
I'll never forget him, Leader of the Pack.
Billy Joel was playing the piano on that at 15 years old. That's him playing piano.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
He's the studio musician on that record?
Yep. He was a kid still.
No way.
Isn't that fucking wild?
That's fucking wild, dude.
Yep.
I never heard that before. That's incredible.
Yep. That's my autism right there coming out.
Yeah.
What up? So how old were you when
real
you got your
recognize
first guitar?
Real.
Yeah.
How did I first start playing music?
Well, when did you get your first guitar? Or did you have to beg your parents for it? Did you buy it yourself?
No,
How'd that come about?
I think my mom helped me. I remember when I finally was like, okay, look, enough is enough. Like I like this so much that I have to see if I can do it. I remember specifically going into my senior year at Monsignor Bonner High School. Shout out Friars. Going into my senior year, right around the turn of the century, the teachers were on strike. So our first week of school was actually a strike week. So we had a bonus week of summer that we weren't expecting. And one of my buddies, Bill Skaggs, his parents were away that week. I think the statute of limitations are up where we can be open with this 20 years later. His parents were away. He had rager that lasted a couple days, a couple nights. And I remember Bill Skaggs and my podcast partner and my partner in Thug Folk, Mike Barkley, my good buddy, they were playing guitar in the corner. And I just always loved music. And I always remember just being in that room and being so transfixed by what was happening. And then I kind of looked to the left and looked to the right, and I was the only guy in the room. And it was a bunch of chicks and me, which is fine. But at that point, I was like, I want to give this a shot. Like maybe I could be one of those guys sitting in the chair and not one of the people watching. So Mike, I believe, lent me a guitar for a little bit, taught me some chords. And I don't remember it being super easy, but this is back before cell phones took all of our energy and attention. So you had to mess with something to pass the time. And I did that. and I made some pretty good progress early enough where I was able to entertain myself quickly enough, even if it was just a simple riff or something like that. And the rest is history.
Do you remember the first riff you learned?
I believe it was "Sunshine of Your Love" by Cream. Ba 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 ba. I'm not talking about the solo or anything.
But because when you're brand new, you learn an opening riff. Mine was All Apologies and Plush. Yeah. I don't know which came first, but those opening riffs were definitely almost certain the first two things I learned. So at the time, if I was just playing Plush, playing that 740,000 times a day, over and over again.
I remember those early days, being at a party and not realizing yet that it's super uncool to try to stop a party and be like, hey, look at this guitar shit I can do. But I'd be like, hey, guys, check this out. You know this song? And they'd be like, yeah, let's go. They'd be getting ready to sing along, and I'd be like, just play the opening riff, maybe at like 60% accuracy, and then just stop. And they'd start to go into the first verse, and they'd be like, come on. I'm like, no, that's all I know. Jesus Christ. Their attention strays quite easily.
I know exactly what you're talking about. What was your first gig as a paid musician?
Great question. My first gig as an unpaid musician was my brother Tommy's graduation party in my backyard that I played with Mike Barkley. My first paid gig, I got to Westchester University, and
shout out Golden Rams.
Yo, shout out Golden Rams, no doubt. I was in Goshen Hall. Shout out Goshen Hall. My RA at the time was this guy Dan Fama, and I was playing a little bit in the dorms, just a tiny bit to myself. And he was like, oh, I play harmonica, and we liked some of the same music. So he talked me into, hey, we can do this if we just get a few songs together. There's a coffee shop in the center of town. It was called the Hard Bean Cafe. And now, the last time I checked, it was Lorenzo's Pizza. But right at the corner of High and Gay in Westchester, catty corner across from Iron Hill. There was a place called the Hard Bean Cafe. And I played with Dan Fama, and we opened up for an acoustic duo known as Pumpkin Face. Pumpkin Face was the word that these roommates invented to give each other a heads up to not come in if one was masturbating. And again, this is before cell phones, so you couldn't just text your buddy, hey man, give me some space. If they heard the key, they would yell Pumpkin Face. And that was the hint to maybe
sock on the door.
Maybe that was the hint to take another lap around the dorm, but we used to open up for this duo called Pumpkin Face, and we called ourselves Big White Dave. There was two of us, but our name was Big White Dave, and of course it was trying to make fun of someone. We're not mature enough not to, but there was a black dude in our grade named Dave, and he was so, he was so I got polished or whatever that people would make fun of him and call him like White Dave, Big White Dave. So that was just our name was Big White Dave. But I remember exactly when it was, Pat. It was April 20th, 2000. At the Hard Bean Cafe was my first paid gig.
No shit. And I'm in that Lorenzo's pretty frequently. I had no idea that's where your first show was.
Do you feel the electricity of there's some history there and you just couldn't place it?
I know. You need to reach out about getting your picture on the wall.
Yeah.
Dude, an autographed Mike Maguire headshot in the lobby of Lorenzo's? I'll start a GoFundMe.
People would be like, who's this guy?
Exactly.
And make it so obvious that they didn't ask me, that I just forced it upon them. No, put this up. But that was my first gig. And then I started going. I started playing with some other guys that I went to Monsignor Bonner with. Matt McCann, who's now in a great band called Muskrat Flats. But I remember we would go to, I think it was called 15 North. And it was one of the bars in town. It's not there anymore. It's called something else now. But they would have an open mic, and we weren't 21 yet. So I'd have to call ahead of time and say, hey, we're 20 years old, we're 19 years old, whatever. Can we come and play and then get out of there? And they'd be like, yeah. And they would watch us like hawks. And we would go in, we'd play, and we'd get out of there. Then Matt McCann and I started this is, Tommy Pope. We've got a friend, we got our good buddy, Tommy Pope. The band that I then formed with Matt McCann ended up being called Sundown Union. And Tommy Pope was the singer of that band.
That's fantastic.
Not many people know that he's an unbelievable singer, like boy band level singer. No, like not many people know that. We played one gig and it was for our buddy's sister's high school graduation. And I know part of the set list was Creed. This is like 1999 or 2000.
Perfect Creed era.
Oh, dude. Higher. Yeah. Can you take... but Tommy could sing that. And then I know at one point we were tuning our guitars and he sang God Must Have Spent a Little More Time on You by Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or whatever, a cappella. He was just so good. But that's when things started rocking. And then in the next year or so, I met up again with my neighbor Mike Barkley, and we started what became Thug Folk.
Oh, I didn't know you had all this history before Thug Folk.
Yeah, just kind of getting my feet wet, just kind of learning the instrument.
Was all this stuff predominantly covers?
Yeah. However, I was writing a lot back then, and I haven't written many songs over the years, but 90% of everything I've written was like those first few years when everything was so new and just everything was uncharted territory. I wrote a lot of songs during that time and a couple of what I still think are my best ones.
Oh, that's awesome. I still have your album. That will always...
Right on time.
Right on time. Yeah.
It's almost 10 years old. And
really?
The plan, yeah, dude. The plan was to release one every 2 years. And it just didn't work out like that. The landscape changed. People weren't... When I made the album, I did the math in my head and I was like, oh, if I'm getting 6,000 copies of it and I sell them all for $10 a piece. But like Spotify was brand new at that point and people could just stream it. And they ended up being expensive business cards.
Yeah. I hear that. My first CD, I bought 1,000 copies and ended up selling pretty much all of them. So I ordered 1,000 more. And over a couple years, I managed to get rid of all of them. Sell some, give away some, but mostly give away some towards the end. And then my second album came out. I think I bought 2,000 copies, and I think I still have like 1,500 sitting in my parents' house.
Yeah.
And then I grew up with CDs, so I still love to like look at the inlay and the booklet. So when I did my third album last year, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to buy 500 copies of this CD. I can find or sell close to 500 people that still care about CDs. Well, I have about 470 sitting at my parents' house. I don't think I've sold a single copy of the third one. I think I just completely have just given them all away. And at this point, I'd feel bad for taking somebody's money for it. You know what I mean?
Cars don't even come with CD players. It's like extinct technology now. Cars don't even come with them anymore.
So at this rate of my career, if I ever do album number 4, probably going to bag the CD part of it. I mean, it's bummer.
Gotta be digital.
But I can't just... I mean, I guess I could just buy like 50 copies of the minimum, but then like, I don't know. I think about this a lot, though.
But you're a big music fan like I am, of course. And part of releasing an album, quote unquote, is to see the physical representation of your work. Because we loved growing up reading the liner notes.
Oh my God, even taking the plastic off of the CD or the cassette was exciting.
Yeah. The mind bender that was. What a chore that was. But that was such a satisfying chore when you finally cracked the code of ripping off that plastic and you could finally undress your new baby.
One of the best moments of my career, I think about this pretty frequently because I forget the date, but it will pop up in my Facebook memories, was the day I had my first album come out and I drove to disc makers in Pennsauken, New Jersey, backed my car up to their loading dock to put all the boxes in, and I stood there on a loading dock in South Jersey at morning rush hour and took the plastic off my first CD and just stared at it in awe. Like, I grew up, I had every Foo Fighters, Green Day, Hole, Nirvana CDs, and now I was holding a copy of my own. And that was 10 times cooler than like recording it or performing, was seeing it, my own CD in my hand.
100%. That was definitely a transformative, like, core memory of mine too. And I also remember the first time I heard my music on the radio. There was
tell us that.
So the CD came out December 2012. The comet that everyone was predicting for years, the Mayans, all of their prophecies about December 2012. Turns out it was actually my album, my debut album they were talking about. It came out about December 25th, 2012, and I sent it to WXPN in Philadelphia. Really great radio station, University of Pennsylvania, 88.5 FM. And it's like the type of station, so they are donor supported. So they're not slaves to like Clear Channel, to whoever the advertisements are. It's their members. So they're like the first radio station to break a band like David Gray or like Citizen Cope or whatever. So I sent it into there. I know they have that local music show on Tuesday nights. And I remember, I guess it was January of 2013. And I believe that was like the polar vortex winter where it was so cold. And it started to come on. I was live streaming it on my computer and it started to come on and I couldn't believe it, but I really wanted to sit in my car and hear it.
Yeah, so I totally get that.
Yes. Just because whatever, I've listened to it over my computer before, but let me really experience it in my car coming through the airwaves. And it was like 0 degrees out. And I ran down to my car like in socks. And I remember listening to like the last half of it in my car. And like that's always been the best.
Oh man.
Nothing touches that.
My arm hair standing up, dude. I didn't know that story.
Never forget it. Yeah.
So fucking cool.
Yeah. And again, nothing really came of it, but just for me, just the self-satisfaction.
Yeah,
being a music fan is unreal, dude.
I mean, sometimes I have like jokes on stage that I know aren't going to hit, but I do it for me because I think it's funny. And then if one or two people get it, I'm like, okay, they're with me. You know what I mean? So some stuff is completely for yourself.
Of course, dude. Same thing when I'm playing these music gigs. Like I do mostly cover songs at bars. And like, I'd like to dig deeper into music. It's not all wagon wheel. Trust me. I haven't done that in a while, but if I like to I'll like to like pull out maybe like a semi-obscure Elvis Costello song or kind of something that keeps me on my toes. And when I see the one or two people there that latch on, like that's such a rewarding feeling. Like, well, okay, they're with me and I'm offering something different.
I'm one of those people as well, man. When I heard you do Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, like everything in my day stopped.
Yeah, you too.
I was like, that is always been in my top five, I don't know, one of my top U2 songs. I've never heard you play that before, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and you fucking crushed that one, and I was like in awe. I was like, I didn't know you had that in your arsenal, and then I've requested it from you like 5 times since.
That's awesome. I don't think of myself as an unbelievable singer or unbelievable guitar player, but what I do feel like I bring to the table is a deep knowledge of music and the ability to go deep and the ability to recognize a good song, even if it's not the most popular song that guitar players are playing. Because if you're down the shore and you're in a vicinity where there's 5 bars close by and there's all the quote unquote A-list cover bands playing, it's all pretty much the same set list. It's all very safe and whatever. Like that's not the game I'm in, and I get that. But what I try to do is take the path that's a little bit less traveled.
I get that.
Of course, hit on the popular ones, but also entertain myself and kind of like see if anyone's going to catch on to some of like the deeper things that I might do.
What do you think is your most requested song? What do people want to hear the most?
Oh,
is it something stupid like Wagon Wheel or like Sweet Caroline or something?
No, actually, I mean, this summer I've been at Barnaby's Havertown on Sunday afternoons. And that this upcoming Sunday, I don't know when this episode releases, but this upcoming Sunday, Labor Day weekend, it's my last time there because NFL season starts and they don't need a side attraction for that. But
no, and it's so hard to compete with football. I mean, same thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to anyway.
Yeah, you're talking about performing outside on the patio, like as a comic performing at night, you know, the World Series or a local Monday night game kills an open mic. So as a entertainer, you just cannot compete against the NFL.
I played a big gig at World Cafe Live downstairs. I sat in with a band that was, you know, pretty big at the time. They were friends of mine. And on the main stage at World Cafe Live, while I sat in with them singing, they showed the Flyers playoff game on the backdrop of the stage while we played. Not a TV in the corner, like literally behind us was the playoff game. So yeah, know all about that. To answer your question, I think my most requested song this summer was Hey Ma by Cameron, the rap song that came out in like 2002.
Wow.
Because I
certainly was not expecting that answer whatsoever.
Yeah. Whatever. Like I said, I like to keep it rangy. I like to cover a lot of ground, you know, to keep myself interested.
And you definitely do. You definitely have a wide arsenal of artists and songs that you pull from.
Yeah, dude. Reggae, classic rock, all that to folk, all that type of stuff. But people heard me do that, and like that kind of became the cool thing. So that's been my most requested song this summer. It's not new to the arsenal, but
How often do you throw your originals in a set? Because I haven't seen you do one of those in a long time. Do you still pop them in there?
Yeah, I do. Not even every night or every afternoon. Maybe once every 3 or 4 gigs. And it just kind of like the idea pops in my head halfway through the previous song. I think of like the key I'm in. I think of a nice transition. And as my kind of brain spins the Rolodex of songs to play next, if an original pops up, I'll do it.
That's
but it's
cool.
not, yeah. Like after the CD came out, like I would play every original I had every night and then fill the rest of the night with covers. And it's just been mostly covers.
Are transitions important to you? Like if you end a song on a G, do you want to begin the next song with a G?
I don't want to stop, period. I want to keep the dead space to a minimum because in the past, when there's been dead space after every song, I almost feel like it's an expectation for people to clap. And I understand that what I'm doing is providing an atmosphere at a bar. People didn't pay for a ticket to see me. You know, they might not have even known there was going to be music, and maybe they don't care. And it's soul sucking when you stop and there's just no applause. So to accommodate the people there and to protect my own fragile self-esteem and ego.
Yes.
Yeah. I've kind of developed a style where I try to like superset things. I try to like smush 6 or 7 songs together. And then maybe I need a sip of my beer or whatever, but I try to keep it rolling. Transitions are extremely important to me because I don't want that dead space where it almost seems like I'm soliciting applause and I don't expect
like
it in the first
seeking
place.
it, and then you just feel like a scumbag, or like, I know what you mean. I totally know what you mean.
Especially playing in Delco. This has to be one of the hardest places in the world to play music because truly no one gives a fuck. It's super humbling, and that's not saying that they're wrong, but no one gives a fuck. Like, you'll play the most intricate song. You could play Bohemian Rhapsody, and you could nail it, and you might not hear one clap, and that's okay. It's just the area. Of course they appreciate it, but it just is what it is. Yeah. So I just condition myself to not seek it. I know I don't expect it to come. I assume it's not going to come. So just kill that dead air.
My producer Moose, who is the man, he's a musician as well, and he just commented in my chat. He said, "God damn, I live this life." So
I saw that too. I feel you, Moose.
All right. As a musician, what makes for a great show? Because for me as a comic, I love when a venue has low ceilings. It's dark, but not too dark, but dim. The tables are together. Low ceilings, tables together, people seated near the stage. That makes for a great comedy show. What makes for a great performance for you?
Well, our worlds are slightly different in the respect that when you're doing a comedy show, 9 times out of 10, you're at a comedy club, a venue that's designed for the art of comedy.
Or at least hopefully if it's a bar gig, the room is designed for it, you know?
Yeah. So mostly of what I do, like I never had a big hit. I never quote unquote made it and like went on a tour. So I play mostly bars. So the rooms aren't made for it. A lot of my crowd may or may not be even expecting music. And I spent a lot of time in previous years waiting for someone, say, to get done their wings and cash out so I can move their table and get set up. So
I've seen that with you at Barnaby's.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm not a musician in the respect where I'm living any kind of glamorous lifestyle. But what I really love is when the music is not an afterthought to a place, where they book music and they intend on presenting it properly. That doesn't mean everyone has to be quiet and it has to be like this folk music listening room. But just if there's a designated area, and I'm not a diva where I need a lot, but if there's a designated area, that's great. If there's a stage, that's a bonus. If there's a house sound system where I don't have to load in my own speaker system in and out, that's a plus too. But at the same time, I've been conditioned to not expect any of that. And I'm ready to wait for you to finish your wings and move. Like I assume I'm going to bring the speakers that I bought and maybe I'm still paying off. And I assume that I'm going to be the dude to set them up and break them down and kind of create the venue, because most places I play aren't venues. They're sports bars. So what I love for a gig is just enough space. I love a bar tab too. I think it's a real slap in the balls if they hit you with a tab at the end of the night. That hasn't happened to me in a while because I've learned to be very upfront that I don't play that. And yeah, just people that want to have fun. just people that want to have fun. I get it. I'm not going to jam anything I'm doing down your throat. Pay attention or don't. But I understand that what I'm doing is creating atmosphere and hopefully adding a little bit of fun to the air that night. I understand these aren't my fans. It's not a ticketed gig. It's people haven't traveled. They didn't bought hotels to be there.
Yeah.
They're just there. And if we can elevate it, if there could be a little bit back and forth with the people, maybe somebody wants to come up and sing a song and that interactivity makes it fun. That's what matters to me.
Do you have a favorite song to play? Or songs, plural? Is there stuff that you've played a million times, but it's still really fun?
Yeah. I love playing Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen because for the longest time, I loved that song and couldn't sing or play it properly. And I feel like I finally gotten to the point where I've developed my abilities enough to where I know that I'm not going to fuck up the vocals or the guitar. And it's pretty intricate and there's different parts. And although it doesn't take up a whole lot of headspace as I do it, to answer your question, yeah, I'm proud that that's a song I can do because it's not cool. Basic. Yeah, it's not basic and it's vocally a little bit difficult and guitar-wise a little bit difficult. And I've been playing with my buddy Rob Carroll this summer at Barnaby's on saxophone and flute, and he does the Clarence Clemens solo
awesome.
Verbatim, and it's so fun. And some of the Dave Matthews songs. Dave Matthews was a big inspiration to me when I started, and his music was completely out of touch, unattainable for the novice guitarist. It is extremely unique.
His
style. Yeah.
I've been playing guitar for roughly 30 years, and I find some Dave Matthews stuff to be fucking weird. Not weird, but
impossible.
Yes. The finger positions he is on the fretboard. I'm my hand has never even made that position on a guitar deck ever.
95% of music after playing as long as I have, there's a precedent for it. You've seen it somewhere before. It's chords that your hands are already muscle memoried to grab, whatever. Dave Matthews has his own vocabulary, whether you like him or not. His own vocabulary, and it's not easy. So to shout out Dave Matthews, a song of his Lie in Our Graves is a song that I've loved forever and wasn't able to execute it for a while. And now that I can, I appreciate the fact that I'm able to.
When you first started playing guitar, did you play for 17 hours a day? Was it all you did?
Yeah. Because the very littlest bit of progress, the note that for once didn't sound buzzy or the riff that I was trying to learn that for once sounded great was so encouraging to keep going, to keep unwrapping that present, to keep unpeeling that onion.
It's funny that you say the one note that's fuzzy or buzzy because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think about this all the time. You ever seen the SNL skit where Garth Brooks would sell his soul to the devil for a hit song and then Will Ferrell appears as the devil?
Yes.
Dude, I still think about that sketch because Will Ferrell's the devil and he goes, the F chord, it hurts my fingers. And I remember the F chord hurt my fingers when I was first trying to learn it and I couldn't get all 6 strings to sound clear. So I think of that sketch all the time still. The F chord, it hurts my fingers. It so really true does. For a guitarist. It's so
B
true.
Flat. F major and B flat, a full F major bar chord on guitar and the B flat. Many guys and girls along the way have wanted to play guitar, and those chords alone have derailed their dreams.
How much time do you put into a set list, or did you wing everything?
I wing everything at this point.
That's really cool.
There's my staple songs, like my table setter songs that I can just go into. And I typically start maybe my first set with things like Melissa by the Allman Brothers, Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash, Friend of the Devil, Grateful Dead. And then from there, the whole time you have to watch your crowd and see what's resonating, what's not. And then from there, I'll get a different idea, or I'll see something's really working, or I'll do some Jack Johnson or Sublime and I can see the reggae vibe starting to hit. So maybe I'll go on that tangent for a little bit. But if I had my set...
No, go ahead.
If I had my set list planned out ahead of time, I would be bored. I kind of need to also be wondering what's about to happen for me to be interested. And that's just become my thing.
Well, that makes more sense to you because you probably look at the age of the people. Are there more men or more females? Are they 21 or are they 65 and they would love more Beatles or Stone stuff? So that makes complete sense because I gauge material by looking at the crowd too. If they're older, I won't go dirty. Or if they're really young, I know I can't do this bit because they won't get 2 of the references in it. So,
and that's just professionalism and having that versatility.
It really is.
To tailor tailor it to the crowd that's there. I mean,
having
that comes over time.
Having jokes or songs in your back pocket to whip out at any moment make you a professional. I mean, there's been many times on the fly where the crowd is like super old or whatever, and I know, I can't do half of this, so I immediately know what's going to go in its place.
Yeah, not like we're fighters, but I've heard a fighter say before, you can have all the plan you want, but as soon as you get punched in the face, that goes out the window. And it is second to second, minute to minute.
Yep. Do you have a favorite gig? Like, do you have a night that was so magical or so unique?
Show. So it was my first time asking people to pay some money to come out to see me. I would give everybody updates throughout the process of making the album. And when it was finally out, it was really, really exciting for me. And the show sold out. Now, granted, I'll be completely transparent. I wasn't at the larger downstairs venue at World Cafe Live. I was upstairs. But I sold out up there. And I handpicked my band. And I had everyone there that I wanted to play with me. John Ardito on drums, Mitch Beer on bass, Lee McCarron on guitar. Mm-hmm. And then I had Jimmy McGillian come through on mandolin, Johnny McGillian on Squeezebox. Paul Shebb wasn't able to make it that night, but he was on the record too. Matt Wong played bass on the album, but he wasn't able to be there. Anyway, it just went so well. And it felt like everything that I was working for came to fruition. And for that one night, it did. And I don't think I had the right strategy to kind of maintain that level of, maintain that level of output. I didn't have the right strategy, but everything came into place that night. Another gig that really stands out is the band that, so I do this podcast, Hoagie Time, with Money Mike Barkley, and we had this band, Thug Folk. And I used to always see this band, Brothers Past, in college at Westchester, and they're a jam band. And Tom Hamilton, the guitar player, still does a lot of cool shit to this day. He's in Joe Russo's Almost Dead. He's a big, like, Dead Jerry Garcia jam band guitar player. So so Tom Hamilton's still a good buddy of mine. So they would see the crowds that we would draw, and we weren't drawing crowds because we were breaking ground musically so much. It's because everyone in our band was in a sequential year from our high school. Mm-hmm. So it'd be me, and then Mike was a year younger, and then this guy was a year younger. And so we would bring out our respective crowds. So they were like, wow, these guys are drawing a lot of people. Let's have them open for us at the TLA. So we opened up for Brothers Past at the TLA in December of 2002. And what a thrill that was still. That was great. That stands out totally. That's awesome.
A really cool theater, man. I've actually never done stand-up at that one, but I've seen a ton of concerts there. That is a cool room.
Yeah. And I've done a lot of cool things, and my music has introduced me to a lot of cool people. I've seen a lot of rooms from some pretty cool perspectives, but off the top of my head, those are two that will always stand out.
All right. On the flip side, I got to ask you, what was a nightmare gig? I always ask the comics to tell me about just a complete shit show that they were a part of. Do you have any horrific hell gigs?
Dude, my initial reaction was, like I just verbally said, and you heard me say that a minute ago, and I was like, I don't know if I have an answer for this.
I have an answer. Narrow it down.
No, I don't. I remember the worst thing. The worst one.
Okay.
All right. So I was hired by someone's wife, and I didn't know them. They knew friends of mine or whatever. And someone's wife hired me to do his surprise 40th or 50th birthday. And it was a surprise to him. And booked, awesome, let's go. She goes, hey, special request. Can you learn this song for us? Like it's a song we really love. And yeah, okay, what is it? It's 1,000 Years by Christina Perri, which is a very, it's just not like in my wheelhouse at all. I would die every day waiting for you. It's a sweet, it might as well be Michelle Branch. It's a sweet female vocal. It's, if you're asking me to do that, then you have no idea what I do and whatever. So great, I'll learn it. I learned it, and it's a surprise party, and this guy has been golfing all day with his buddies, and I'm set up on the deck. And when him and his buddies show up, they're bombed. And this guy might as well have been like the evil high school jock in any 90s movie or Revenge of the Nerds. And he walked in, and I'm in the corner, and he says to his wife, and I don't know if he thought he was whispering or if he was in full voice on purpose. But he goes, Jesus, who the fuck is this guy? And like, I just feel so dumb. And she's like, oh, no, like, this is Mike. He's playing music. And he turns to his boys and they all laugh at me. And this isn't a huge den. So we're right in the same vicinity where I can feel the energy. It's awful. So I'm playing a couple. I already feel like shit. I play a couple more songs and she goes, can you play that song that I asked you to learn? And I'm like, yeah, great. So I start playing it and it's slow. Again, it's 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. Look this up, kids, and try to imagine a man singing this. I start singing it. I don't know if he really didn't know it or if he just felt on the spot and didn't want to seem like a pussy in front of his friends. And he definitely hits his wife. They're dancing and he looks at her and he goes, what's this shit? And he's looking at his buddies, like laughing at them and looking at me and laughing. And she goes, baby, you love this song. He goes, I never heard this shit. And this was in the first 10 seconds of the song. And for the next 4 minutes, I had to complete the song at being the laughing stock of this guy and his like pseudo, like Revenge of the Nerds, frat brothers, buddies. And we're on a small deck and I just have to eat shit for 4 minutes. And it's not even something I wanted to do anyway. That sticks out.
Did they dance all 4 minutes?
No, they didn't. I was
gonna say that'd be super uncomfortable too, though.
There was zero chemistry between them. Like, it was just like he was so annoyed. Like, she must have been so tone deaf to what he likes and what he doesn't like. It was super uncomfortable.
That's
just one story. I mean, I've got a couple, but that's the first thing that pops in my head when you ask me that.
Wow.
Yeah. To this day, when I hear that song, it makes my butthole tighten. I'm ugh. Like, it just gives me this uncomfortable ugh. Like, I just can't do it. I can't listen to it to this day.
1,000 Years?
1,000 Years by Christina Perri. Now, for the record, I love her song Jar of Hearts. And I co-starred in one of the Real House Husbands of Philadelphia with her brother, Nick Perri. So shout out the Perri family.
I forgot about that series. That was really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I was written out of it pretty quickly, but we did it with John McKeever, Tommy Pope, Luke Cunningham, and Daryl Charles. It became the Bird text. But I was in the first couple of them, and Nick Perri was in one of them too.
I'll have to go back and rewatch those. Those were really funny.
I think the brainchild of that was me and Tommy Pope at Maggie O'Neill's watching Phillies playoffs. And a bold statement to say that we kind of stumbled across how funny the Delco accent was, but I really think that everybody was taking it for granted. And we started making each other laugh, going, yeah, what the fuck? Let's get another beer. And we were making each other die laughing. And I think that started it. I don't remember that stuff before then. Then we did the Real Housewives of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago at this point. It's crazy how hard time flies. Maybe even longer. I'm not sure.
That is crazy because, I mean, how long have you and I known each other now? Probably 12 or 13 years at this point?
Yeah.
Gotta be. Oh, yeah. Man, that is...
So shout out John McKeever. Shout out Luke Cunningham. Tommy Pope.
Did you read Luke's book, Leo?
Yeah. I'm halfway through it. I'm reading it. I bought it.
I read it. It's really good. It's also really long for a children's book. I don't ever recall reading a book that long as a kid.
What a smart guy.
I know. He's so fucking funny. And I always forget that he was a writer for Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. He's so smart and he's so tuned into what's funny.
Yeah. You went to high school with a lot of comics, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I did.
Luke, Tommy, anybody else?
Was
Mike
no one else, but I think just playing music for as long as I have, I've kind of ended up meeting guys like you that, although we don't do the same exact thing, it's, we're performers that kind of throw ourselves out there at the mercy of crowds very often. Yes, and that's a unique thing that many people can't relate to, whether it's comedy or music or anything like that, acting, to where like we gravitate towards each other. And we understand some of the difficulties that really aren't there on the surface that people wouldn't realize.
And you could just I talk to comics all day long on this podcast and, have tons of musicians friends. We all just get it. We're all just entertainers. And you can talk about things that other people don't understand.
Yeah. And it's cool. And it's a super unique perspective to have when you are that person on stage in front of that microphone and everyone's looking in front of you. And it's such a cool little perspective to live in. And it's not always great. And at times it's a struggle for different reasons. But
yeah, there's all sorts of shit that factors into it.
But it's a very unique space to be in. Be that person with the light on them in front of the microphone. And I think that's what makes us gravitate towards each other, is that we get it, whether it's playing music or whether it's comedy, because it's all entertainment and it's all a person or a couple persons trying to change the atmosphere of the room. And I think that's what we do have in common. Trying to add some lightness, trying to add some fun to what would otherwise be a mundane night, a mundane room, trying to add some kind of electricity to it. That's what it is.
So sometimes, comedy and music together on the same bill can be hit or miss. It can be a disaster or it can really change the entire night. I've seen both sides of the coin. At Temple, I hosted a battle of the bands and I ate shit in front of all the bands and all their friends. So sometimes music and comedy do not go together. However, every February I do shows at my country club. Shout out Paxton Hollow Country Club.
Shout out Paxton Hollow Country Club.
Delaware County. And this year, back in February, I had you open both nights. And I got to say, those were two of the best nights I have ever had in that room. And I've been doing shows there for probably close to 15 years. Like, just having you play upbeat songs as the crowd comes in and gets sat for an hour totally set the energy and the tone for exactly where I wanted them. And then have you finish your last song and then bring up the first comic with no break. It's like an hour of music and then bam, showtime. Like, what a fucking game changer having you on, dude. That was so much fun.
That was such an honor for you to ask me. And leading up to it, I wasn't sure how to approach it. Like, I was in my own head. Like, do I change what I do? Do I try to do like a comedy music thing? Like, whatever.
No, I just obviously I'm glad your thing as is.
Yeah, and it worked out so well. And it wasn't like, hey, everyone sit down and listen to me do my versions of these songs. It was just great vibe for people to come in, find their seats, grab a beer, talk to their neighbors with just something going on besides dead air. And then the seamless transition over to the comedy aspect of it. It was really awesome, man. I agree that it was perfectly executed, the whole run that we did, and I can't thank you enough for having me as part of it.
Oh, no problem, man. We're going to do it again in February. That's was right. so fun. And I remember Saturday was like absolutely packed and like people were cheering for you. And then I was like, this show is going to be off the charts. And it was like when the musician is getting applause before the first comic is even on, I was like, dude, this is unreal.
Yeah, anytime you can work with your buddies, it's awesome. And when you put the peanut butter and jelly together like that so well and everyone eats it right up, dude, that's what we're here for.
So what do you have? You said this Sunday is your last one, right?
Yeah, this Sunday is my last Sunday on the deck at Barnaby's Havertown. And I don't know when this comes out, so maybe it comes out after that, but it's Labor Day weekend.
No, it definitely will come out after that.
Okay. Well, if you were there, great. If you can time travel, go back in time and check me out.
Absolutely.
But I'll continue to get some gigs throughout the fall, throughout the colder months.
Do you have anything you're looking forward to right now? Anything on the calendar that's really exciting?
Not right now, but my wheels are turning as far as trying to think of some cool like Christmas time type things. Maybe debut a new band around Christmas time or that holiday just for fun.
Cool.
And right now, just focusing on the new podcast, Hoagie Time, with Mike Barkley. And I'm just working on getting that up and running, having so much fun with that.
That was a lot of fun, man. I really had a great time just chatting with you guys and, again, talking music and comedy.
Yeah, and we're learning as we go. We're not comedians and we're not trying to be, but we're ball breaker dudes from Collingdale that can sit and talk shit, and we're recording it, and so far people seem to like it. So we're going to keep running with it, and we are lucky enough to have a good network of friends like you to come by and to add some flavor to it. So it's been a lot of fun.
Anytime at all, man. So what song are you currently learning right now? Just for fun, just for you? Are you currently working on a riff or trying to play a song?
I'm trying to learn piano. That's what I'm working on. Yeah, and I'm not, like for a long time, the guitar transitioned from something that was like my identity, whether I was playing or not, to just something I would grab on my way out the door to play a gig. So I'm not always practicing. I'm trying to get my chops better on electric guitar. I would like to do more of that, and not necessarily being like an Eddie Van Halen shredder solo guy, but I'd like to front an electric band where I'm playing electric guitar and maybe I've got somebody more fluent on the instrument playing leads, but I'd like to do more of that. That's fun. It's the same instrument as an acoustic guitar, but it's a very different approach. Mm-hmm. And it is a different thing. It's not the same exact thing. You have to play things differently on electric guitar, but I'd like to do that. There's no greater joy for me than to play with other people when you're playing music. And that says a lot for somebody that's done 90% solo acoustic, but that just becomes the reality. It becomes easier. And frankly, it's better not to have to split the money. Yeah. So if I can just run and do a gig and make some bank and not worry about if this guy's got a T-ball practice, he can't make it and whatever, and I can just go and do it, then great. So that's what most of my output's been. But my preference is always to share that energy and play with others.
Dude, that's so cool, man. I mean, I've jammed with a couple friends here and there, but by far I've played with you the most. And it is like last week we did our staples, All My Lovin', and You've Got to Hide Your Love Away.
Yeah, it did.
I have so much fucking fun doing that. Like, it's my only time I ever play in front of people, and whether people are paying attention or not, even just doing, you and I have 4 or 5 songs we play in our arsenal. There's fucking nothing like it, man. It's so cool.
It's the best. And again, like, I'm so happy like that you rolled up, dude. That was such a great surprise for you just to show up in a kind of like an out of Delco gig. And then you played with me. There's nothing better for me than to share music with my friends as we're playing. And like you said, whether people are paying attention or not, like, I don't care at all. Like, we talked about this on Hoagie Time a little bit. Like, it's not about being in front of people necessarily. And I'm sure that comedy is different because you need that interaction all the time. Where like I'm kind of accustomed to being background music. Like, I don't need to be the center of attention. It's not an attention thing. It's just, I like the music. And if people come along across the, throughout my gig and they latch onto it, then phenomenal. But if they don't, it's fine. Yeah.
So you're working on playing the piano now, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a bit about piano movers. I find this occupation absolutely baffling because I've never met a piano mover. Like, never. I'm a musician. My friends are musicians. I've never met a piano mover. I've seen the trucks, but I've never met a piano mover. I've met Dave Grohl twice. Never met a piano mover.
Have you ever met a break dancer?
Mike Rainey.
Good call. Wow. Shout out Mike Rainey.
Maybe because he just
shout out Dad Meat.
Maybe he just has because he has a breakdancing bit, but like, I find the piano moving occupation fascinating, I should say. Like, there's got to be piano movers on Earth. Like, Billy Joel and Elton John share the same guy, and Paul McCartney has his own, and like, that's it.
Yeah, and like, what's your competition like? If I'm a piano mover in Delaware County, how many others are around, and how am I trying to take their business? Like, are there 20 in the Philadelphia area?
I Googled Philadelphia piano movers, and there are multiple companies, and one is 5th generation. And I'm like, my great-great-grandfather moved pianos. My great-grandfather moved pianos. My grandfather moved pianos. I move pianos, and I'll be goddamned if my son isn't going to move pianos.
We've never evolved as a family tree, and goddamn it, that's why we're the ones for this job. We are a one-track. Our genes are one-track. This is a one-track family.
My mom got me a keyboard, an electronic keyboard, when I was like 6 or 7, and I never cared for it, and because I always wanted to play guitar. And she got me a guitar, and I played my whole entire life, still to this day. But now, as an adult looking back, I really wish I gave the piano more attention.
Yeah, you can do a lot with piano, but the whole thing is you have to want to do it. And if someone's telling you you have to do it, and you're like a boy, and like it's not your own motivation, you're not going to stick with it. But if you do stick with it, then you eventually get to the point where you can play anything. But the motivation for this shit has to originate within yourself.
It does. It totally does.
And once you stick with it and you get the chops to do all that stuff, it pays off a lot.
How often are you playing piano now? Every day?
Not every day. A few times a week. And what I will do is bring up the chord charts for songs that I already know. I then explore how to play it on piano.
That's exactly how I do it every time.
But I'm learning how piano works because guitar is very shape oriented, where guitar is all about chord construction. So like, to learn guitar, you don't have to know the notes that make up a chord. You learn this shape. Yes. But with piano, you have to understand what chords are coming together that make that chord of reality. And then you can play it this way, this way, this way. And you can dive that deep with guitar, but it's just fun. I mean, it's just there's so much to explore. You can go so deep with it.
It really is a lot of
fun. Guitar in the first place.
Dude, it really is a lot of fun. And like, obviously I can play a million songs on guitar, but anything I know on the piano is strictly because of the guitar. Like I can play like Everlong and Monkey Wrench and like Imagine. So
and then as you start,
everything I can. No. Everything I can play on guitar is mostly just like Green. Anything on the piano is mostly like Green Day and Foo Fighters, Chili Pepper stuff.
Yeah,
just because
that's great stuff.
I love sitting at the piano and finding out where the notes are and thinking of like a guitar riff in my head and finding the notes to make the chord. You know what I mean? Like just doing it without like looking at the chord chart, doing it all upstairs here.
I mean, that's the root of anyone that's going to play music is that self propelled discovery. Like just by hitting a note and you in your mind going, oh, what else can I play with this? Like it's not someone telling you to sit down and practice this. The people that have to be put through that, like end up building a callus and they don't want anything to do with it. But if you have it in yourself to kind of like follow that thread, it's awesome.
Give us all your socials here. Where can people find you? We're going to promote this podcast and obviously promote yours. So where can everybody find you? Where do you want to be found?
Well, I've got warrants, so tread lightly. Not kidding. You can find me on, I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Mike Maguire, and it's not MCG. It's spelled like the movie Jerry Maguire. So it's Mike, Mike, Maguire. So that's my Instagram. On Twitter, it's at IMIAM, Mike Maguire. You can find me on Facebook if I spell my name that way. And also, I got the Hoagie Time podcast going with Mike Barkley. So I'm also on TikTok. I'm Delco Mike, DELCOMIKE. Hoagie Time podcast is just that at TikTok and on Instagram as well. So, just like any 42-year-old dad, I've got fucking 11 socials in this new world.
Well, dude, thank you for being here, man. You and I can talk for days on end about music and comedy, but we keep it to an hour here. But thank you for being here, man. This was a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to catch you again soon.
Pat, shoot me a text, and we'll meet up somewhere in 45 minutes.
Absolutely.